Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is Howard Pinsky, Senior XD Evangelist here at Adobe, joined once again by the wonderful Julie Sanduski. How are you, Julie?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am excited about everything that's come out today, but
I
so
know.
tired.
Yes, I know. It's like there's a release, but then there's also being tired.
Yeah, I was
And
up
that's why we
late
have
last
coffee.
night, early this morning. I've got super strong coffee that I'm working through, so hopefully I don't fall asleep halfway through this stream, but you can handle it, right?
We'll keep it exciting with all the new features.
Yeah, I think so. So big hello, good morning, afternoon, or evening to everyone joining us live on Behance Land. We've got Wade and Noah and Cornell and Julia and Andre and Jack,
Hello.
Adriano. A lot of awesome people. Let us know who you are. Throw your name in the chat and where you're tuning in from.
Yeah. Yesterday we had a bunch of people from around the world. So
We did.
let's
I
do
always
it
love
again.
seeing. Yeah, exactly. Even people who should be sleeping right now. I think in India it's like 1 or 2 in the morning, something like that, and they're just up and watching Adobe Live, which is great. But you should also get some sleep.
I know. I'm so impressed, and it's so
Yeah.
exciting to everyone.
So if anyone missed the big news, we released Adobe XD 30 this morning, technically last night, but rolled out this morning. And it contains scroll groups, stacks, design tokens, durable links. And I'm going to switch over to my screen just for a second. So we've got letsxd.com if you want to get the rundown on what's new. We've got a scroll groups page, a stacks page. Also in the what's new section, you can see an overview video. See, I can't talk. I need more coffee. So you can get all the information about all these new features. And of course, Julie is definitely going to be using some of them throughout the stream today. And also, we're going to be reviewing daily creative challenges in about an hour and a half, 30 minutes before the stream ends. And today's challenge is to design and prototype the featured content area for a news experience, determine the size and layout, then allow users to scroll within the experience. So head on over to Discord when you are finished, submit it in the current challenge channel. That's a mouthful. And we're going to take a look at it.
Sweet. And it looks like on the chat we have people from Jamaica, from Germany, Tampa, 2 people from Tampa, Florida,
Nice.
and Tulum. So welcome, everyone.
Oh, Miami. Used to live in
Yeah.
Miami. Good place.
Oh, you did?
Kratos from India. Kratos, go to sleep. It's super late over there. When I was like 18, I could have probably done that, waited till like 3 in the morning to watch Adobe Live. And now I'm
Yeah.
asleep by 10.
Yep, it happens. It's
Yeah.
okay. I feel like it happened for me about a year ago.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I'm going to go to bed at 11 and not be. I used to be a night owl, but,
Yeah.
what can we
Once I hit 30, it was just all downhill.
That's okay.
Yeah. All right, we're going to swap over to your screen. And if you want to give everyone a little bit of information about you, what you did yesterday, and what you're going to be doing today.
Yeah, so for those who weren't able to join yesterday, my name is Julie. I am a product designer based in Seattle, Washington, but I'm currently on the East Coast in the US with some family. And a little bit about me. So I focus on circular design and food. And so what circular design means is it's focused on designing out waste in our food system specifically for me. And something I like to say, I have this little motto here, but good design is better when it does good for people and planet. So say I'd like focus on purpose-driven design and use circular methods to create the experiences that I design. So that's a little quick intro of me, but something that might be applicable to some of you is if you've heard of the Creative Residency Program, which I think we'll link to that in the chat, but the Creative Residency is a year-long program for early in career creatives to pursue a passion project.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I did this last year, focused on circular design and food. And Howard talked about this yesterday, but they launched a community fund, which is a $1 million fund, and they're giving grants from $500 to $5,000 for creatives to pursue that passion project in a shorter time frame, so 2 to 4 weeks or so.
Yeah, I love that. Even before this fund came out, I loved the idea of the creative residency, because usually when you join things like this, you're told you have to do X, Y, and Z. But in this case, and Julie could attest to this, is you kind of set what you're going to do. You said, I want to do X, Y, and Z, and Adobe's like, all right, we want to pay for that. It's like, wait, hold on, what? You just don't see that very often.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was an amazing experience. And like you said, like I came in and pitched what I wanted to do for a year, and then they selected, there were 9 of us last year and there's 2 this year. So go check out Christina Poku. She's a photographer based in the UK. And then Maddie Beard, she's a UX designer based in Colorado. So there are the 2 new residents this year, and they're doing awesome work. So go check them out. And then while you're at it, check out the community fund and throw in a project and apply.
Absolutely. Awesome. Like we said yesterday, the worst that can happen is they say no, and you just continue to build up your skills. We're probably going to have some sort of residency going forward. We had it for the past few years. Of course, we had to modify it a little bit this year. I don't know what the future holds, but there'll be something. So keep working, keep building up your skills, and keep at it.
Exactly. So what we started designing yesterday, and staying very on theme within my work, is an urban micro farming app. So to run through that quickly, that concept. So the goal here is to enable everyone everywhere to grow their own food. And that's important for a few reasons, but the biggest thing for me is igniting this consciousness of where our food comes from. A lot of people, don't have access to, they live in urban areas, don't have access to much greenery. And so being able to, grow food in an urban space, whether it's your driveway, whether it's, a small backyard that you have, or a rooftop or a balcony, that, connects us more and more to the food that we eat every day. And someone literally, I said this yesterday, I've heard of a story of someone made their entire living room like a little urban farm, which I think is pretty awesome. Yeah,
I would never even think about doing something like that. But that's really cool because, it like you said, it's nice knowing where our food comes from. Because usually we don't. We can go to a grocery store, we can pick out some apples or pick out some whatever it might be, and it might say organic or it might not say organic, and it sounds great, right? But you don't know what's been sprayed in it. I'm not saying everything's bad, right? There are some fine things that they spray on it, but it's always nice just to have your own in your house, in your living room, bathroom, whatever it might be.
You work hard for it, and then therefore you enjoy it more.
Yeah.
That's what I like to say. And with urban farming and trying to grow your own vegetables right close to home, there are a lot of challenges that come to that with that. So if you've had no experience growing vegetables or plants, or you have trouble taking care of indoor plants, which sometimes I do too.
I think I kill fake plants.
It's hard.
That's how bad I am.
That's okay. So, there are a lot of challenges with growing your own food. So knowing what plants can go together. I'll jump over here to the pain point section. Zoom in. So knowing what plants can be planted together. So that's important for like soil health. And then what time of year is it best to plant? This information is very personalized to where you are. So if you live in the Pacific Northwest, or if you live in a different country around the world, the weather conditions can be very, very different, and therefore affect plants that can grow. Other things are like, what do you do about pests? And when should you harvest vegetables? So there are a lot of pain points that, we outlined yesterday and went through that have influenced the way that we've been designing this app. So we also yesterday looked through some competitors. So like who's working on this solution out there already and what are they doing? That is something I do often just for, understanding what's working, what's not working, just to make sure, it helps influence the strategy of what I design. And then we went through a little mood board, so the aesthetic.
Nice.
And since yesterday, I pulled in those illustrations to give it some more life, which I will show in a second.
Oh, I'm excited about that. A good illustration with good colors can really bring a design to life. So I'm excited to see what you've got.
Yeah, so we've got some fun greens. We looked at that like kind of mute green yesterday, and I was like,
Yeah.
we need some life in here.
Mhm.
So this is where we are at.
Ooh.
So we were working on the onboarding piece yesterday. We went through kind of the big flow of things, and started, building out what onboarding would look like with prototyping. So let's start there, finish that prototype of the onboarding experience, and then we'll dive into the voice assistant piece, and then the planting guide and the plant profile, and so on. So for those who weren't here yesterday, the overarching idea of this app is that it helps you start that urban farm. So you define, I am going to create a little farm in my driveway. I have this much space, and the app will give you recommendations on what you can plant, what goes together, and then it has a focus on a virtual assistant inspired by Ron Finley, who's an amazing urban gardener, urban farmer, and yeah, that's the general idea.
I love that. I wonder also if, maybe this is probably not right for this stream, but I wonder if there's also some sort of a augmented reality aspect to a gardening app.
Yeah, I thought of that actually, and I was planning on doing after the stream, so check it out. I'll probably put on Behance. But I've seen a lot of that done, by Andrea and by Patricia, who are past residents, and I feel like this would be a good opportunity to do that.
I think it could be.
Reality. Yeah.
So Cornell is asking about mouse pointers in the chat, and there's a little bit back and forth going on. So it looks like your mouse pointer on your screen is a little bit larger, and that's probably like an accessibility feature within Mac OS. So at the moment, there's no way to change the mouse pointer inside of Adobe XD. It's controlled by your operating system, so Mac OS or also Windows. And I think someone in the chat posted how to do that in Windows. It's in the control panel somewhere.
Yeah, I like to keep mine pretty big because when I'm doing streams and demos and things like that, you can see where my pointer is. So I like having it big, and I haven't changed it back, so I recommend it. But I've seen sometimes you can change, might be in different things, but you can change the icon of the mouse. I don't know if you've seen that on the internet before.
Yeah, I think there's a few different apps that can do that. They're definitely third-party apps. They're not, built into XD. That'd be cool one day if you can, if XD would have something like that. But for now, third-party or within your operating system.
Exactly. So people are asking about the illustrations, and that is a great question. I love using illustrations in my designs. I'll jump over to these guys over here. So I always have these illustrations in my work. I just love the character that they bring, and it gives a lot of, it makes it fun. So I have all of these came from Adobe stock. So you download an Illustrator file, and I'll spin that up right now so you can see. So here is an example of a leak. And so this is just an Illustrator file. All I do is copy it over and bring it into XD. And then I can control everything about that illustration. So if I zoom in here, I can change the colors, I can change the layout. Oftentimes I mishmash different illustrations together in order to, if they just don't exist on Adobe stock, I'll pull in two different illustrations, make sure they're similar style, and then I'll bring it together.
Another cool benefit of working all within the Creative Cloud is that Photoshop files, Illustrator files can be opened directly in Adobe XD, or if you already have them in Illustrator, you can copy and paste them, you can save to the Creative Cloud. And what's cool about that is that kind of keeps things in sync, kind of like components, right? So you can edit things in Illustrator, save it back up to the cloud, and it automatically kind of rains down on your projects, which is fun.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. It makes it so much easier. So highly recommend checking out Adobe stock for those illustrations. You just have to make sure if you're searching for illustrations where you can adjust the colors and things, make sure that it's an Illustrator file and not just a JPEG on Adobe stock. I've definitely run into that before where I'm like, download one, think it's an illustration, and it's just a photo. So just something to look out for. So we have this fun color palette. It's like a green. Is it green or blue, Howard? What do you think?
Oh gosh, is this like that dress thing where it's like gold?
I have so many conflicts about this exact color with friends.
I see green.
Okay, I think it's more green than it is blue, but let us know in the chat what you think. it's just for my personal
Oh
satisfaction.
no, now I'm going to be like squinting and looking at this with my head cocked the entire time.
I know.
But I'm pretty sure it's green. I would say it's green.
Okay, cool. Great. I am in agreement. So what we were doing yesterday, so I showed you how you can have different states within this. So we have a hover state, which this is a mobile app, but I imagine it could be on a tablet or something like that later on. So I just like to have the hover state in there anyways. And so I think I might have wired this up already. Yeah, so I just added a quick, let's see where we're at. So we have a transition, and then I added in, the allowed location while using this app. So one thing I want to do next with this is I think I have the state in here. Let's check.
So I think it's pretty clear. It's all
Great. Okay, we have consensus. Now I have more, ammo behind me. Yep, green for sure. Cool. Okay. So I created a few different states for this pop-up as well. So we have for microphone, which is going to be on the next screen. And then basically I wanted to make it so that when you click it, it'll appear blue, and then it'll transition to the next screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the default here. Location allowed. So when we click it, it'll now appear blue. And then when we go to location allowed, we're going to add a transition to the next screen. So we should be good there. Let's check it out. Oop. I have to switch this back.
So Noah's asking, I think the ultimate question is, when you've designed an app in XD, how do you get it to actually function in the real world? Do you bring it into Xcode, or what does that process look like? So natively, XD doesn't dump out code. It does have CSS in developer specs, but it doesn't create your app for you. So there's no Xcode integration, for example. However, Google just released a Flutter plugin not too long ago. So if you're into the development world, you're able to export your XD projects to Flutter and then basically create an Android app. And I believe there's also a Flutter plugin or integration for iOS as well. So you can do that. There's also a few plugins that sort of help with exporting to Swift or Xcode or whatever it might be. They're not always accurate. It's always difficult going from design to code, but there are plugins out there that will help you with that.
Yeah, I would always recommend checking out the share mode in the top left corner of XD. You can share it for, I'll just show you, share it for developer development, and then you can go get all the information in there too that you can share with an actual developer. But you're right, there's plugins that you can use for actually getting that app developed. Okay, so I just went and I created the overlay. So now that when I click on the allow, it'll transition to the next screen, and we're gonna have the same thing happen for this one. So it kind of can be tricky with the overlays. Like, you have to make sure that each state is prototyped. So, but it's a lot of fun to play around with that. Okay, so for this one.
And Senthel's asking, can you tell me the standard size for buttons for iOS and Android?
So there is a UI kit that I think Apple has that you can pull, and I wonder if I have it here. Howard, do you have one?
I do, yeah. So if you go under the file menu and then down to get UI kits, you'll be able to download them for iOS, Material, and Windows as well. And then, each of those companies, Apple, Google, and Microsoft, have, very in-depth documentation on what sizes, taps should be, for example. I think it's 45 pixels for buttons and things like that, just to make sure that everyone is able to tap on things. So it varies from platform to platform. It's also going to vary from project to project, but there's a lot of good documentation, and also the UI kit as well.
Yeah, and if something isn't in there, something I do is I just screenshot the full screen on mobile, and then I send it over and try to match it. So that's if it's not available in a UI kit and you can't find it online, try screenshotting and see if you can get it close. Whatever's fastest, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, So I think we have done this.
Pranav is asking, can you give a few examples of horizontal scroll, Howard? So I think, Julie, do you have anything in your document that would work for horizontal scroll?
I do.
All right,
Okay.
Go for it.
Let me show you. Okay, so I have over here, I have multiple, these are, traditionally without scroll groups, I would have to auto-animate, drag trigger to bring this over here. But with scroll groups, let me make this a group. We can then scroll between.
Mm-hmm.
So if this was bigger, if I add in details over here, I would use repeat grid, but making this fast, we'll just do it like this. So now with the scroll group, I can just horizontal scroll between those two.
Yeah. It's super simple. And it works with repeat grids as well. So if you have a repeat grid selected, you can just add a scroll group to it. And and it also works nicely. Yeah, it also works nicely with the padding feature. So if you wanted, if you see on Julie's screen as she scrolls over to the right and she reaches the end, it's flush with the right side of the artboard. So if you add basically padding to that group, you can add a little bit to the right. So there's a little bit of room on the side as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm super excited about horizontal scroll.
Yeah, the one thing I will note is that on Windows, if you're not using a trackpad, scrolling is a little bit difficult right now. The team is working right now on a click and drag option. So if you don't have a trackpad or your mouse wheel doesn't go in the other direction, they're working on that. So stay tuned for that. But I think for most people, they've been able to scroll pretty well.
All right, so I think we have the whole onboarding done. So everything's wired up here. So we've enabled the location, we've enabled the microphone, and then we got started planting. I have to add in some text here. Let's do this.
All right, so while you're doing that, Sunny has a question about colors in XD, exporting different in the browser. So that's likely due to your display's color profile. XD uses sRGB. So make sure your profile on your display is also sRGB. That being said, the team is exploring additional color management for Adobe XD. I don't know exactly when this can be available, but it's something they've been exploring for a little bit. But yeah, sRGB is probably the way to go, at least for now, until we release additional color management. And Noah's asking, Julie, how long have you been working with XD?
Yeah, so I've been in the tool itself since about 2017, so very, very early on. I think it was in beta in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. And I've been using it ever since. I had played around with Sketch, back in 2016, and then switched, fully to XD when XD came out. And I've come from a self-taught background too. That's something I mentioned yesterday.
Yeah.
So everything I've learned has been through side projects, through hackathons, through my residency, and so on. So learn by doing, and yeah. But I've been in the tool for a few years now.
I love hearing that because I love hearing that because there's always a debate, whether you need an education or a master's degree or a bachelor's in design, or, you need a ton of experience to work for big companies or do anything in the industry. And for the most part, it's definitely moving more in this direction. The answer is no. I mean, you've worked for Microsoft, you've worked as a resident for Adobe, and you don't really have that traditional background that some other people have.
Yeah.
And neither do I.
What?
And neither do I.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's just, if you have the drive and if you put in the work, you can learn by doing. And, you'll make mistakes along the way. I make mistakes all the time. There's a lot of things that you might not learn directly, immediately on the job, or learning by doing, but you learn along the way. So as long as you're willing to learn, anyone can be a designer.
Absolutely.
I work for sure. All right, so we're on this voice assistant part, which I am super excited about. So we mentioned this yesterday, but the reason that I wanted to have voice within this app was because when I'm gardening and when I'm planting things, my hands are covered in dirt.
Mm-hmm.
And so having a voice assistant, you know, if I'm trying to understand like how far can something be spaced apart, or what plant can I plant next to carrots or something like that, I just want to be able to talk to, I guess in this case, prototype, and it tell me what to do. So that's why I wanted to have voice in here, and it's inspired by Ron Finley, who has a masterclass about gardening. I just watched his compost one, and it's super cool. So if you have masterclass or know someone with masterclass, check that out.
I've been debating it because, you know, I looked at the library, and at least I don't know what the price is now, but when I looked at it originally, it was like $70 or something like that for the year, which considering there's like Ron Howard on there and there's these top actors, and I think Gordon Ramsay has a thing on there.
Yeah.
It's like, how are they making any money by charging $70 per person? I'm really curious.
I don't know.
Or maybe they're not. I don't know.
They have it. So I think the $70, it's like buy one, get one. So you get, at least that's the deal. That you get 2 subscriptions for the price of one. But yeah, they have like really, really awesome people on there. So I'm not sure how they're doing it, but they're doing it.
I don't know. It's crazy. I do see Omar in the chat asking about dark mode in Adobe XD, and this comes up every single stream. So let me answer it again. I want dark mode in Adobe XD, and I think a lot of people want dark mode in Adobe XD, and many of the people who work on Adobe XD want dark mode in Adobe XD. The tricky thing is it's all about prioritizing, you know, what we work on at any given time. There's several different squads who work on several different features, from designing to prototyping to sharing, that sort of thing. But you know, ultimately, things like stacks and scroll groups, which we released today, component updates, better collaboration tools, and sharing, these are all things that, in my opinion, and probably the opinion of many people, would prioritize higher than dark mode, even though we want dark mode a lot. And it'll definitely help when we're designing at 3 a.m, but it's hard to justify dark mode as a feature that will definitely improve your designing. So one day I think we'll definitely see dark mode. I don't know when that will be, but the team definitely has a lot of features to get to first that will improve all of your workflows. And then dark mode will come eventually.
Yeah, I know. I hear that every single time too. Like, when is dark mode coming? Yeah, and I think I want it too, but I'm not really sure if I'd like.
Yeah, it's a nice to have feature. Like when Photoshop introduced dark mode, I switched over to it, and I honestly cannot go back. It's like dark mode or nothing, and it'd probably be the same way in XD, but it's like I can live without it. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many features. Like, I'm looking to it to come through at some point. Like I remember back in 2017, I was like, where's underline? Or maybe it was 2018. And then underline came, I was like, okay. Those are definitely some features that I was looking for. But I think video playback is the next thing that I want.
Yeah, video would be nice.
All right, so I'm just adding, I pulled in a bunch of photos. So this is a learn section. So something that I, when I was creating my little garden outside and things I've seen online through blogs and stuff, is a lot of how do I create my own compost, start seeds indoors, how do I build a garden stump, and how do I make garden boxes. So I wanted to add a learn section where you can kind of discover different videos to be able to, you know, within the same app, learn about those things.
Yeah.
So these are photos from my garden, actually. So this is inside my house on the left. This is a little stump that I made.
Oh, it's cute.
Yeah. And it was funny. That stump came from a giant tree falling in front of my house, and they just asked them to cut it up for me to make stumps. This can't go to waste, you know? It's gotta make sense.
Yeah.
So
if the tree's gonna try to attack your house, you're gonna take its stump.
Yeah, take its stump. Another garden trick I learned is if you save your banana peels and put them in water and let them soak a little bit, it's a great fertilizer for soil. So
interesting.
That is something composting 101.
The more you know.
I know, the more.
Someone was asking, where was it? Senthal's asking about unable to see the menu bar options on his PC. So on the Windows version of Adobe XD, there's no traditional menu bar like there is on the Mac. And that's because when XD was being developed, I forget what it's exactly called, but there's guidelines Microsoft has for developing apps on Windows. And at the time, they did not allow menu bars at the top. So everything had to be hidden within a hamburger menu over to the left. So you'll find a lot of options within the hamburger menu over to the left. You'll also find options like if you wanted to do a mask, for example. On the Mac, you would go up to the object menu and then choose mask with shape. On Windows, you would just right click on the elements on your canvas and you'll see the mask with shape option. So it was a guideline issue back in the day. I don't know if Microsoft has eased up on that at all, but that's the reason.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Oh, I have stacks in here. Okay, so stacks are something that was released today as well. And what it does is it quickly allows us to have things stacked within a group. So right now I created a stack within here. So if I wanted to switch and have this on this side, I could just do that quickly. I also created, no, I haven't created that. In another example, I'll show you how I created stacks within stacks so that you can switch those little windows in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Super excited about stacks.
Yeah. Diet Milk, that's a great username, is asking, do you know when we can turn an XD file into HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? So when you're sharing for development in your design specs, you'll be able to grab CSS. And then as for HTML and JavaScript, the team is always exploring new ways to help bridge the gap between designers and developers. In the meantime, there are plugins that can help you do that. Anima is probably one of the most recent ones, and they're able to export your projects almost like directly to a functioning website, which is pretty cool. So check out the Anima plugin in XD.
I haven't really played with Anima yet. I need to do that.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah?
Yeah. We were talking a little bit about video yesterday, and it allows you to essentially embed videos into your projects. So you would basically have a placeholder image, which is basically like a rectangle.
Oh,
and then
yes,
from the
okay.
plugin, you would put in a URL, and it wouldn't display in Adobe XD because it doesn't support it just yet. But if you preview that prototype inside of Anima, then you'll be able to play the video, which is nice.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I definitely need to check that out. Yeah, I've been trying to build out my plugins panel with things that I like. One I found recently was confetti. Do you have that one?
Oh, yes. I've used it a few times for some interesting projects. It's so good.
So fun. Yeah, I've loved, I'll show this one right here. So basically you can create a confetti pattern with whatever objects you have within your designs.
Yeah.
So it's just like a fun one. I feel like I'll use it for presentations. Other ones I found, I love like keeping things organized. So Artboard Plus, which rearranges artboards for you.
Have you checked out the new Quick Mockup plugin?
No, I've not.
Ooh, I would suggest trying that out. It's quite
Quick
fancy.
Mockup?
Yeah, it was just released today.
Oh, cool. This one?
Yep.
Okay, I'll click install and we'll check it out. Sweet. Okay. So I'm just creating these little videos here. We'll just do one so I can see that. All right. So one thing I was trying to figure out is where I want this. Howard, maybe you can help me with this. Where I want this speech bar. So this is supposed to trigger someone to ask our little voice assistant what they need help with. I didn't know whether I wanted it right above where the alerts are. The alerts are temporary, so since we just went through onboarding, there's a quick little welcome alert that'll then probably take you through like a little tutorial or something like that.
Yeah.
But what do you think about having the bar up here?
So I don't mind it in that position because it is connected to the voice assistant, which I'm assuming is that person at the top. The only thing that's throwing me off a little bit is it stylistically, it looks too similar to that alert. So someone might think it's an alert, which maybe that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world because you want them to tap on it. But I would
Yeah.
say, maybe give them a little bit of a different look so that there is that separation there.
Cool. I could take away this little sidebar because it is a similar, or I can make it fully circular too. Let's try it out.
And while you're doing that, we've got Hala in the chat asking, Julie, if you will design a desktop version of this app, how much similar will it be to the mobile app? And what's the most important thing you will definitely add to the desktop version?
Yeah, so I probably wouldn't have it be it probably would be for a tablet, honestly, if you're taking this out to garden with, but maybe it would be on desktop as well. So when I'm doing mobile and desktop design, I will design it in mobile first, because going mobile first means that you have to prioritize a lot of features, and so it prevents like feature overload. So I love designing mobile first and then going to the desktop version, unless you are only building a desktop app, obviously. So I just use responsive resize typically. So what I'll do is I'll take, if we have like this page, for example, I'll create an artboard for let's just do a web here. And then I would just copy over these elements and then try to bring them. Obviously it'll be a little different now, but what I do is I typically just copy things over into the web artboard, and then I'll just mess around with alignment. So typically things look pretty similar to me. It's just a matter of like, you want to have enough space, and with desktop you have a lot more space to work with. So yeah. What about you, Howard? What do you typically do?
So I know a lot of people love kind of using responsive resize, and it's a fantastic tool, obviously. But for me, I always found that I prefer to redesign something almost from scratch. So if I'm designing like a mobile app like this, like you just did, I'll grab some elements manually and then kind of move them, because we're almost at a point where the mobile app and the tablet app and the desktop app are very different experiences that solve for different problems. It used to be maybe 5 years ago or 10 years ago, everyone is big on responsiveness, where you set breakpoints and things kind of just move over, right? But now it's almost, the experiences are completely different. And what's cool about Stacks that was just released is that if you have let's say a vertical stack for a mobile design going down the artboard, just like one box going all the way down, you can just switch the orientation of that stack and make it horizontal. So if you're moving over to tablet, you can easily do that. So there's a lot of interesting ways to do it. Yeah, I'm not super big on just having the same design, but of course it depends. And every project's different.
It totally, it reminds me of like how Facebook switched their design recently, to which like the desktop app looks very much like the mobile app.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yep.
At first I was like, whoa, this is very strange. Like there's a lot more free space than what was on the mobile app, but I ended up liking it a lot more than it was before.
Yeah, I had it, like for 2 days, and then it disappeared. So I don't know what happened with it. Yeah.
Oh, no way. Huh.
Yeah, it just went away. Somebody was asking, I know Matt in the chat commented on this, but considering you have it on your document, it might be interesting to talk about, is Yoey was asking, where did it go? I can't find, I don't know where the comment went, but basically he was asking, how do you, when you were using overlays, kind of like the allow modal that you had, how do you add either a blur or an overlay behind it? And I think what you did is you just enlarged the artboard and you just added it directly on it, right?
Yep. So originally I had just an artboard that fit the size of the overlay, but since I wanted it to have that darker background, I just added in, I created a larger artboard so it matches the size, if you can tell, it matches the size of the mobile artboard. And then I just added that transparent box in the background. So if you can see, this is just a black box, and I just brought down the transparency. So that's how you can quickly have a transparent background. So what looks like it's, fading in the back. So good question though.
Yeah, you can also build that into components as well. Basically the same way, you just don't use overlay. You create a different state within the component with the little window and a blurred background behind it. And what's kind of nice is you don't have to have that blurred background or the overlay in the original state. You can only put it in the new state and it'll just fade in.
Yeah. I'm just adding this for the other learn components in here. We'll have a fully built out learn. Oh, I did not mean to paste that instead.
Oh yeah, for things like that, it's a little bit of a different workflow now because if they're all in the same group, they're essentially treated as separate objects, part of that stack. So you'll want to make sure that the overlay is in a group with the photo.
Okay. Let's mess with that over here. My grouping, I need to fix this, but I feel like my layers panel always gets so messy as I'm designing.
Yeah, mine too.
All right, so you create, if I add the overlay within the group of the photo, it's like that?
Yeah.
Should be good. Okay.
Cornell has an interesting question. If we're going to design a responsive website, for example, should we start with desktop or mobile?
I always think mobile because of, so what I mentioned before, so feature prioritization. So since you're working with a lot less space, you have to make some of those hard decisions. And this actually comes from my experience as a PM. When I was at Microsoft, I was a product manager. And so something that we would do is we would design for mobile, even though we only designed for a desktop app. So like, even though we didn't have a mobile app, we knew that that was going to be the future of where we're going to head in 5 or so years.
Right.
So everything we would do would be designed mobile first, is how we called it.
Yeah. For me, it's a lot of thinking about what your target audience is. You know, if you're designing Facebook, for example, the majority of people who browse Facebook are probably on their phone. So you probably want to prioritize the mobile experience. But when I was designing the Let's XD website, it was 100% desktop first because I knew, you know, Adobe XD is a desktop-based application. People are likely going to be, and this is backed up by analytics, people are likely going to be browsing Let's XD on the desktop. So I prioritized that experience, and then I made a few tweaks for mobile because I knew it just, you know, it's not as important as the desktop experience.
Yeah, I think it really depends. But generally, it's good to think about both of them, even if you don't have like a mobile or a desktop both together, like in the design spec right now. So,
yeah.
Good question.
Yeah.
So Senthil's asking to have a session on both mobile and web for the responsive design. So yeah, that could be something next.
Yeah, we have these streams all the time, and there's always guests designing interesting experiences. So that could definitely be something that we focus on during one of those streams is transitioning. Maybe day one will be mobile, maybe day two will be desktop, and then we'll talk about, you know, what the transition looks like.
That could be part of like I know some Adobe Labs are focused on responsive resize in the past.
Yeah.
So that could be for a project like that.
Totally.
So. Okay, cool. So I got that learn section done. And let's go next to, I guess we can do the planting guide, or we can do, let's do the planting guide. So this is going to be the second piece of the navigation, which I still need to add icons into. So I've created a component in here already. So I'm going to just jump over to that.
And Stacks is perfect for navigation bars like that.
Yeah, that's so true.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to add a tab to the planting guide. Let's do a transition like that. That'll bring us there. And then
I did see a question, I think it disappeared, maybe he's rewriting it, but I think it was Noor was asking about shortcuts in Adobe XD. So there is, maybe one of the mods can find it, or I'll try to look it up. But there is a website, I believe it's on HelpX, that lists all the shortcuts that you have in Adobe XD. There's also, I don't know if it's up to date, but there's also a plugin for shortcuts. It was created by a friend of mine and also a designer at Adobe, Kenny, and it's all about plugins. It's all about shortcuts, so you can use the plugin as well.
Yeah, I've also seen they have these at Adobe Max with the keyboard covers.
Oh yeah.
So sometimes they're in giveaways, so keep an eye out. But there are some really cool keyboard stickers that go on directly on your keyboard and show those shortcuts in Adobe XD. So
yeah, of course there are more. Yeah, of course there are more shortcuts now, so it's a little bit outdated. Like everything in XD, a month later it's been outdated, but it's a good start.
True.
And Wade just posted in the chat. So we do have Senthil asking, what is the exact work nature for product designer?
Someone asked this yesterday, actually, like, what does a product designer really mean? So it honestly depends, like company to company. So there are terms in design where there's like interaction design, UX design, UI design, web design even, and product design, industrial design, and so on. So there are a lot of terms and they mean oftentimes different things company to company. But when I talk about being a product designer, I'm talking about designing experiences that we interact with as humans. So that can be, for me, a physical product, but it also can be digital, which is what we're doing today.
Yep.
That's my personal definition. But yeah, Howard, if you have one that you can tack on to, there are a lot of different ways to talk about it.
Yeah. I probably don't have anything extra, but I was also answering some questions in the chat, so I missed part of your answer,
no
but I'm sure you answered it well.
Yeah, it really depends, but if you're ever looking for a job or a role, just make sure to dig in and see what does that role actually entail at that specific company, because it could be different at different companies. I know Julia yesterday was on the chat and she said that I think she took her coursework in Germany or something like that, and it was only 3D product design. So it totally depends. Yeah.
I think someone else mentioned that in their country, product design was all industrial, and it didn't have anything to do with actual apps or websites or things like that. So totally, definitely, check it out, check what you're applying for, because you never know.
Yeah. All right, give me a vegetable. Someone on the chat, throw in a vegetable that I can add into here.
Oh boy. Okay, I'm gonna throw out carrots, and then we'll wait. We'll see what the chat says. What's your favorite vegetable, chat?
Yeah, give us.
Fun fact: I'm allergic to most fruits and vegetables.
Really?
Yeah, unless they're cooked.
Huh.
I'm allergic to basically everything, but it was explained to me that I'm actually not allergic to the actual fruits and vegetables. I'm allergic to the plants and trees that they grow on. So if they're raw, there's still kind of remnants of the plants and trees on that fruit or vegetable. So, I have allergic reactions when I eat them. But if they're cooked, it basically kills all that stuff, so I can eat it.
Oh, nice. I know a lot of people have allergies to like apple skins, but not the actual apple core.
Yeah.
What I think is interesting as well.
Yeah.
Well, at least you can have cooked vegetables, because otherwise that would be really hard.
I know. And sometimes I just deal with it. Like I'll eat grapes and apples from time to time because they're just so delicious, and I'll feel a little like tingling in my lips and stuff like that. But it's definitely not to the level of anaphylactic. So I'll survive. Yeah.
Well, that's good at least. So if you don't accidentally eat something, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't know how people... I had a teacher in high school. He was an art teacher, and he was beyond deathly allergic to oranges and citrus. So much so that he was banned from the cafeteria at work, because even if he's in the vicinity of a citrus fruit and he smells it, he can go into anaphylactic shock. So he basically hid in his classroom all day. Fruits were banned from that classroom. I don't know how people live that way. Obviously it's not their choice, but it's just it's crazy.
That's really hard. Yeah, I luckily don't have any allergies that I know of, at least.
You're lucky.
Very lucky.
Yeah. We do have a lot of vegetables in the chat. Alexander says tomatoes. We've got carrots,
okay.
tomatoes, leeks, orcas. That's a fancy one. Broccoli, red onions, pumpkin.
Is it orcas?
Yeah. I thought that was a fish.
Yeah, wait, what?
Oh, sorry. Okra. O-K-R-A.
Okra. O-K-R-A. Okay, I was like, an orca?
That is a fish, right?
Like, that's a whale. Yeah,
Okay.
we have those in Seattle. Okay, so we have,
It's been a long day.
let's see, pumpkin. That's a good one. Fall is my favorite season, so thing is, this is a June planting guide. I should have added that, but we can do tomatoes. I think we might have, someone said leek, which we're throwing in here.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Sunny says pineapple, especially on pizza. Thank you, Sunny.
Pineapple on pizza, I feel like that's a controversial topic.
It's very controversial. It's like up there with politics.
Yeah. I think it's great, but
I do too.
yeah, okay, cool. We're on the same page.
We can be
We
friends.
agree about the color, that this is a green, and we also agree that pineapple on pizza is, arguably good.
Yes.
Okay, so we have leeks. I'm gonna pull in some beets, I think. We have those. I think we do. Let's check it out.
I'd love to hear in the chat, not only about the pineapple on pizza thing, because I'm sure they're going to mention something shortly, but what's your most controversial food take? I've seen some weird things.
What have you seen?
Some people love like eating mayo just out of the jar, which I can't even think about that without.
Yeah, I haven't. I've seen jokes where people will put vanilla pudding in a mayo jar and eat it like out of pudding. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna grab this beet here.
Those are some clean looking illustrations.
For grabbing a full illustration without having to get the points. Am I just doing it wrong?
So what I do, I think you can use the first tool in the tools bar.
Yeah, but it cramps the whole thing.
If you double click into it, I think you can select. Okay. There it goes.
I've done that before. I don't know why I forgot that.
What I usually do, I just open it up in the whole Illustrator file in Adobe XD. That way it comes over as groups, and I'll just dive in and find the group.
Oh, okay. I will do that next time.
But this works too.
I love how they're always so big.
Yeah.
But what's amazing is like these illustrations are really, really detailed, and XD is still super fast.
Yeah.
Which I love. Okay. Beets. I think I have kale in my other. I love just stealing pieces from other illustrations. Like, here's some kale that we can take. Let's see.
So Cornell is saying banana dipped in mustard.
Whoa. I've never heard that. That sounds very interesting.
I would not try that. And Eric is saying I ate some cereal with hot sauce in one of my family YouTube videos.
Whoa.
Interesting.
Huh. You've got an eclectic group on here.
Mm-hmm.
So someone asked if I made the illustrations. The answer is no, although I would have loved to. These are amazing. These are all from Adobe stock. And there are a ton of really, really fun ones that you can pull from Adobe stock. And if you sign up for Creative Cloud, you get a free trial, basically.
Yeah.
A month full of assets. So, let's see, what's the quickest way to grab this? Trying to think.
Diet Milk is saying I hate ranch on pizza.
Oh, I disagree.
Yeah.
I like ranch on pizza.
I like ranch too, especially when you're at the crust phase and you just dip the crust in the ranch.
Mm-hmm. But it, in moderation. I definitely don't love ranch all the time, but sometimes I will definitely get some ranch.
Yep.
Okay, let's pull in some kale over here. All right, someone said tomatoes. I'm going to throw that in here.
So now that you've gone through the residency, what are your plans for the future, Julie?
Yeah, so the residency was my big pivot into design. And I've been trying out freelance now. So I had never thought of that before. I had done some projects on the side before, but freelance was something I wanted to try. I've worked at a big company. I did the residency, which was like fully independent for a year. And I was like, why not try freelance after that? So that's what I've been doing since I ended about a little over a month ago. But my long-term goal is to start my own company and design the product behind it. So I've been working alongside. So the residency was like my full-time exploring my side project, and now I'm trying to bring those projects to life eventually. So stay tuned.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, so it's been a lot of fun. But I think one thing with freelance is that I miss working with people. So like doing live streams like this is really fun. But I would love to, if I find like a really great company within food sustainability, I might do that. But right now I've been working on my own projects within food and sustainability and trying to bring those to life.
Nice. Yeah. And freelance is it's a whole other beast. So what have been the biggest challenges transitioning from sort of like a full-time job to freelance?
Yeah, so one thing I've actually really liked about it is that you are a business yourself. And so learning everything from like how to manage your time most effectively, which you have full control over, like if you want to take a vacation next week, as long as you don't have any pre-existing commitments, you can do that. But yeah, I think the biggest thing has been, how do you market yourself? How do you find clients? What's the whole process of that? So, invoices and setting up those client calls, like little things like that, you have to learn while doing. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun though. I've really enjoyed it so far.
That's good. Yeah, I miss the days where I can just wake up and just decide not to work.
Yeah, it's really nice. But then there are weeks where you're working a ton, because if there's a client on the East Coast, or like for me, I might be up super early one day to have a call in the morning.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really depends. But I think, love like the fact that I have like full control over the work that I get to do and when I do it. And I've really enjoyed that part of it. Yeah. It's definitely scary to get into.
Yeah. Alexander's saying, you don't need a job. Just buy a lot of lottery tickets. Something's got to give.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. It's a good idea. I'll get on that.
One time when I was 9, I was at a mall and I did this little they were doing a competition where you just would get stickers from a certain number of stores and then you would win something. And I won $1,500 worth of furniture, and I was 9. And I was like, what do I do with this furniture? I think I just gave it to my parents, but
nice.
You can win things.
You can. I haven't been very lucky yet, but maybe one day. I do live in an area where you can actually buy lottery tickets, like for Mega Ball and Powerball, on an app. So I have that just set to like buy a Powerball ticket every week, and maybe something will happen one day.
Yeah.
But probably not.
My grandma would always, like, when we'd have dinner together, she would get like dollar lotto tickets and put it underneath our plates before dinner, which I always thought was really fun.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
Now the big question is, if you did win one of those, would she take a cut?
I don't think so. But I would probably get her some flowers as a thank you. All right. Got some corn. I'm trying to find tomatoes, but I'm not sure if we have a full illustration for that. We might. I'll just grab this guy.
So Sans is asking, what's the typeface you're using for the headers?
Yeah, good question. Oh, this guy's a little bright, so I'm going to tone him down a little bit.
That's a bright tomato.
So the typeface, let me bring up that slide. So I am using Freight Display Pro for the headers.
Yep.
And this is just an Adobe fonts. So, when I start getting like what the visuals of the design look like, I head over to Adobe fonts, play around with different styles in there, and then pull them into my designs to see if they work. So Howard, I think yesterday you said that you just type in, like a title and then see if it looks good and pull that in. But
yeah,
Yeah.
But browsing for inspiration is a super good idea, especially if you're in a creative block. Go on Behance, go on Dribbble. I think there's a website called thedesigninspiration.com, I think it is. But there's just browse things and just get your creative juices flowing.
Yeah.
Hey, Pedro, welcome.
I think I have a scroll group here.
So Noor is asking, I want to be like you. What things do I need to do to develop my skills and become a pro? Honestly, it's just practice, practice, practice. Julie and I were talking earlier about not really having traditional training in design, UI and UX, and I'm in that boat as well. I went to college for 3D animation, which has nothing to do with anything I'm doing right now, but decided at some point to switch over. And when I started, I was beyond terrible, especially my YouTube videos. If you go to my YouTube channel, my very first videos are still there, and they are beyond bad. So, just keep practicing and make sure that, every single thing you put out, whether it's a design or a video, or if you're knitting a shirt, make sure every single one is better than the last one. And really think about the criticism, because you're probably going to get a lot, especially if you're putting your work out there on Behance or Dribbble or wherever it is. You are going to get people who hate your stuff. That's just life, right? So try to look at it not so much that there are people out there who think I'm a terrible designer, but there are people who have feedback on how I can become a better designer, and take some of that feedback. And if they don't give you constructive feedback, maybe ask them, what can I do better to make this piece look more striking? And also, I think we spoke about this yesterday, is one thing that I do a lot is I'll browse some of the top appreciated designs on Behance or Dribbble, and I'll just recreate them completely for my own personal benefit. Yeah. And I usually don't post them anywhere. I just want to be able to learn something new. Maybe there's a new design style that I think would be really cool, or maybe there's a post with really beautiful gradients that I've never used before. So I want to kind of train myself to use that stuff. So when I'm working on a completely separate project, I might kind of dig into my mind and bring out some of that inspiration that I found. So again, just keep practicing, keep working at it, and you will get better.
Yeah, I always say that whenever someone asks me how to get started. First I say you want to get to know the tools. So go pick your favorite website, pick one that has some cool interactions with it so you can play with prototyping it, and just go recreate it. Don't share it anywhere because you're just recreating a website, but just to get to know the tools, that is a great way to get started with learning XD, for example.
Yep.
Okay, so we got some companion plants. I made this little corn guy over here too, but don't need him yet, so I'll leave him.
Almost looks like seaweed.
It kind of does. You're right. But I think it's fun.
Yeah, it is. It's a nice style.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. So we have the voice done. And I still have to add those icons, which I can do last. So June planting guide, my idea for this is that, so this is the second tab of the navigation. So my idea for this is to have it so that you can just swipe through to July and to August and back and forth and be able to see the different plants that work well for that month. One thing that I wanted to have here is when you have I'll jump down to the plot. So this is the farm that I'm going to create. So I've mapped this out within the app. And when I select on a certain box, this bottom piece that pops up is going to be what's planted in that box. So for example, this is carrots. And when I click on carrots, it'll bring me to the carrots plant profile, essentially. So the plant profile will show specific information about that plant. So the biggest things based on research from talking to folks is spacing. So how far apart can I space this plant? Should it be in full sun or part sun or shade? How often should I water it? And then how long does it take for me to then harvest that plant?
Yeah.
So we can add stacks in here to show you that. But if I, through user testing found that seed to harvest is the most important thing. I can just flip that to the top with stacks
fancy.
super easily. So it's just another quick tip. And then Howard, how do you what's the shortcut for adjusting the spacing between all of them at the same time?
Hold down Shift.
Okay, cool. So if you hold down Shift, I can just adjust the spacing. They're a little different, but now they're the same. Perfect.
And one of the product managers did confirm that in a fairly near update, there'll also be an option within the properties inspector over to the right to enter in specific values. So if you didn't want to drag with Shift held down, you can just enter, let's say, 24 pixels in the properties inspector, and it's going to automatically add that spacing for you.
Oh, awesome. Great to hear.
I did see somebody, it was Pedro in the chat, was asking about adding it in a timeline in XD for micro interactions. And that is definitely something that the team wants to get to. They've actually been actively exploring and creating interesting prototypes and thinking about what the best way to offer that is. Because, it's some people, here's the way I think of it, right? There's After Effects, right? And that has very in-depth timelines and animation controls. But if you're not an After Effects user, it's incredibly overkill. There's a lot going on in there with timelines and keyframes and graphs and things like that. So the team wants to be able to offer something similar to that without the complexity of After Effects. Because, if that's the case, you just bring your XD file into After Effects, right? So definitely something the team is actively exploring. Of course, we have a few things to get to for collaboration, especially with everything going on this year. But yeah, something that they're exploring. Don't know when that's going to be, but it'll happen.
That'll be fun. Yeah, I'm excited. I've loved playing with co-editing. So I'm excited for that to go out of beta sometime soon.
Me too.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, the team has been working crazy hard to make sure that co-editing is very stable.
Yeah, super important to make sure that it's stable before launching.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to find an icon for the guide. And these are just some icons I pulled from the Streamline free kit. I also pulled in some that don't really match, so leaving them, I might adjust some things in there, but if you see an icon that is good for like a guide, I'm thinking something like this.
Yeah, that could work.
So I don't see another like kind of guide-like icon. So let's try this guy, and we can always change it later.
Yeah, Adriano, I agree. I think it would be cool if there was a way to export those animations through Lottie. And there might be a way, I'm just trying to think of the capabilities of the API, but there might be a way to do that with a plugin until, the XD team is able to do that.
I think I have a plot here.
So we do have about 22 minutes until we take a look at some daily creative challenges. So make sure to go to behance.net/challenge/XD to read up on today's challenge that Andrea is running, and submit your work in the Discord channel under the Discord server under the current challenge channel.
I think what's funny is last time I did Adobe Live, Andrea was doing daily creative challenge as well. So we seem to line up always.
I think so, yeah. Her challenges are beyond amazing. She is so creative.
Yeah, she is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see what you all do in the creative challenge.
Yeah.
All right, so I threw in those icons finally, so they should be reflected all throughout because it is a component, which is really nice. So I don't have to go redo all of those, which is great. Okay, so let's see where we are now. So we have done onboarding and we did voice, so we can play around with a quick voice prototype maybe, just to go to the planting guide. Why don't we do that?
So I wonder, for those in the chat, did you all know that XD can do voice interactions? And now, as of a recent update, I think it was, when was it? And I can't even keep track of the months anymore. It was an update a few months back, I think. Now XD can also do audio playback as well. So previously it was able to do voice playback, so XD can speak back to you, but now you can also include audio playback. So, you know, if Julie is creating interactions for the navigation bar, for example, when she taps on one of the icons, it can make like a little fun popping noise.
I actually haven't played with that, but I should.
Yeah, it's fun.
I think I saw one of your videos using it, the audio playback, but I haven't put it in the design yet, so maybe I'll have to do this after this one.
Yeah.
Well, what I have, I just added a voice command for what can I plant in June? So that'll transition to the June planting guide. So eventually this is just a prototype, but this would be something where you can really ask it anything and then it would answer back. But for the sake of the prototype, I just have one simple voice command. And we can just try that out really quick. So I've seen this on like the Echo Show where they have like a trigger or a command like on the interface, but since I know what it is, I'm just gonna try it out. What can I plant in June? Here we go, June planting guide.
Fancy. It's that easy.
That easy. I know, it's always fun demoing it because when it works, you're like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
People are like, it's magic.
Mm-hmm. And when it doesn't work, then you're scrambling to figure out why.
Then you're scrambling.
Usually a microphone setting.
What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, so we just added that, and then since this is a component, I can add all of the transitions within here. So I think I already added a tap trigger for the guide one, but let's add one for the plot section as well. So I'm just gonna group these together. Bring this to the plot.
So Cornell was asking about the spacing between, probably referring to stacks, and when you're adjusting spacing using shift, if it overrides, I think he's basically asking if it overrides or if it kind of ignores the individually spaced items. And the answer, at least at the moment, I don't know if it's going to change or not, but when you hold down shift, it will set the spacing equally amongst all the different items within your stack. So what I would do for a workflow is set the spacing set the spacing equally first. So hold down shift, adjust the spacing, let's say to 24. And if you do need to increase or decrease the spacing on individual objects, then do that afterwards. But it would be kind of cool
I
to
always like play around with it and and try to figure it out. Because sometimes if things are grouped a certain way, it can mess with it. So yeah, always just playing around with it will be helpful.
Yeah, it would be kind of cool to have some sort of ability to lock the spacing on certain objects.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Can you do that with locking a component or no? I know you can lock a component, but can you lock other aspects about a component?
I don't think so.
Okay. Maybe one time.
But there are probably things with stacks that I haven't tried yet, so who knows?
Oh, something I wanted to do, and I just remembered this. So, in a lot of apps that I've enjoy going through, there's fun like loading screens. So a lot of the illustrations within apps, I can think of like Daily Harvest, for example. They have, when it's loading, they have a little jump roping banana. I don't know if you've ever seen that before, but I think it's always fun to use Auto-Animate to make things like move around while you're on that screen. So I kind of wanted to try that with this little windmill here.
That would be fun. I love the little micro interactions on loading screens. And
yep.
Yeah.
So it normally takes me a couple tries to get it right, but we're gonna give it a shot. So I just copied the artboard, and then I think this is a group.
And it's so cool that you're able to do this. And you know, if anyone's just joining, these illustrations were brought in from an Illustrator file. So because they're all vector and all the pieces are in groups, Julie's just able to, rotate things and animate them.
Yeah.
Look at that.
A little fast. think you can go longer. Let's see if that's too slow. All right. So I'm gonna add a last little thing here.
Kevin's asking if Adobe XD is available on the iPad. It's not. It would be interesting, but I don't know if there's enough demand for it for the team to dedicate a ton of resources to making that happen. I know from time to time we see people I would love saying I would love Adobe XD on the iPad, but it would have to be something that people would want to use or would use all the time for the team to justify dedicating those resources, because even though Adobe's a big company, resources are not infinite. There's, every year or every quarter, there's a certain amount of resources that are put towards hiring new people. So you'd have to hire a bunch of people or take people off of a current project. So I don't think we're going to see XD on the iPad anytime soon, but who knows?
Yeah. Well, Photoshop on the iPad just came out, right?
Yeah.
This last year. So Photoshop's been around for, 30 years?
Yeah, and it took a long time to develop.
And it took a long time, yeah. But maybe one day we'll see XD on there. All right, I added one more pane so that this will look complete. Let's do it again. So I'm just using a time trigger here, and what you do is you just adjust the rotation. Like you can do this for a little loading circle as well, but you just adjust the rotation of that element that you want to spin. So I'm just changing it to 360, and you can go back and forth so that it'll keep going. There we go. Now it's spinning.
Look at that. That's fancy.
Yeah. So the one thing that I've run into before is you want to make sure, so since this is a component, it's already connected to the overlay, so that when I click on a new location, it's either on the screen or on this screen. So you just want to make sure that that button is connected in both of those screens, so that it will work. But it's a fun way to add. I just love the little, I've done it with like a teapot pouring coffee before. So.
Oh, cute.
Yeah. Okay. So we did that, and now we have planting guide. So let's jump down to the actual farm plot. So this is the orientation of my little driveway farm that I have. I have a 2x4 box next to a 2x2 box, and I have 3 different rows of that. So that was the inspiration for this, and I used stacks so that I can just like switch back and forth. And I mentioned before earlier in the stream that I have stacks within stacks. So if I just switch this, it'll do the same thing too. So that's always fun. I also, I think I had added scroll groups within here. So I saw your demo with the map where you can scroll within a map pane, kind of like on Google Maps and things like that. So I figured that would be kind of cool if this plot would grow rather than, having like a separate screen. You can just pane through a larger plot of land, basically. Yeah,
that'd be pretty cool. And thinking about how that would be done before scroll groups was available, it would not be easy, because you would have to basically determine which direction you're going to scroll first. So you're going to drag over to the left, and then you can drag over to the top, and each one would have different artboards. But now you can just add a scroll group and drag in any direction.
So if I put it over here, all the way over here, now that I have that scroll group defined, I can just go all the way over here, and I can have like if I have a massive spot to put a farm, I can have it all within that one window pane. So, good stuff. I think
scroll groups was one of the, aside from dark mode, being able to scroll within certain areas is probably the thing I saw the most in my streams. People want to be able to just, with cards, just scroll left and right, or just have different panes of content, kind of like the Notes app I demoed. That was definitely one of the top requested features. So it's really nice to see that this is now in the open or out in the world.
Yes. Ooh, I always like putting Auto-Animate when I do a transition just to see what happens, because you know, when you use Auto-Animate, you have to plan for it really for it to like work well. But sometimes I just like seeing if it naturally works well. But for that one, I'm just gonna do a transition dissolve. And I'll make it a lot faster. It's on 2 seconds. Okay.
Yeah, more often than not, even though Auto-Animate is super fun to play with, it's probably not necessary from going from like screen to screen.
Yeah.
But it's fun, right?
It's really fun. Yeah. Yeah, I normally do it for, I use it a lot for animating illustrations, and then sometimes if I want certain content to like not fade in, but come in at different times, like, I don't know what the word for that is, but I'll use Auto-Animate to then have it transition in slowly. So helps like track the eye.
Totally.
Okay, so I'm gonna add, let's see.
Are those the little carrots?
These are gonna be the carrots.
Nice.
Yeah, so with this part, I want it so that when you click on a box, so in this case it's a 1x1 square, you can see what's planted in it. And so visually I want it also to appear whether something's planted in there or not. And so rather than having a tiny icon of a carrot that you can't really see, I would just have an orange circle. And we could standardize this too and just have one color mean you know what's planted. When you click on it, it will appear. But for now, let's just use the orange circle. I'll put a few over here.
We do have 8 minutes left until we take a look at some entries in Discord. So if you haven't gotten yours in yet, definitely throw them in there in the next 7 or 8 minutes.
I'm so excited to see what people got.
I'd love to hear from the chat while we're watching Julie do her thing. What, out of today's update, what's your favorite feature? Is it scroll groups? Is it stacks, design tokens, or durable links? There's also, I think, support for Italian and Russian, I want to say. So if you do speak those languages, you can now use XD natively, which is nice. But yeah, let us know in the chat.
Or if you want to learn how to speak those languages, you can
That's
just
true.
Enable it and then figure it out. That's such a fun way.
Yeah, or if you want to confuse someone who doesn't speak those languages, you can just, no, don't do that. I'm going to get in trouble. Someone's going to tweet me that, you know, my friend changed my XD to Russian and I can't read it. It's all your fault.
Oh man, that would be really hard.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to have, when I click on this box, I'm going to have the carrot appear up. So I'm going to push this out of view for now.
So Eric is a big fan of stacks, and Cornell says, when I was watching What's New earlier today, I was constantly smiling because both stacks and area scroll features. So both. Nice.
Yay.
It's not often that you get 2 big features in one update, but usually twice a year, around May or June, we release a pretty big update, and then of course Adobe Max, there's sometimes an even bigger update. So we do have some pretty cool things coming at towards the Adobe Max timeframe, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, and Adobe Max is remote this year, which
It
means
will be.
anyone can join, is that right?
It'll be free, yep, and we'll have a ton. I've already started planning some of the sessions I'm going to be delivering. We'll have a ton of content, ton of sessions. Of course, we'll have keynote speakers and things like that. It's going to be a good time. So I think it'll reach a lot more people. And thinking about one of the specific features, assuming it does ship, you know, things always shift. But there's one specific feature the team is working on. I can't give you any hints about it, but it is mind-blowing. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know if it's going to ship at max because, again, things always move. And We
Yeah.
we want to make sure that features are done right, but the team's working on some pretty cool stuff.
I'm sad that you can't give us any sneaks, but
No. Sometimes I can kind of hint at things, but this one I'm not even going to say anything about.
okay.
It's that good.
It's that good. I mean, this release is really awesome. I was super excited for this one.
Yeah.
And it came out today, which, surprise, surprise, pretty awesome.
Yeah. And it was so difficult to not talk about. I think was it yesterday during our stream, or maybe it was Friday during my masterclass. I was showing off stacks because we did sneak that on social, and I had to actually hide the scroll groups functionality, so I had to go into our feature flags and turn them off. But there were so many people in chat like, oh yeah, stacks is great, however I'd love to be able to scroll through those stacks and panes of content. I'm just like, oh yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Just you wait. That's really funny.
Yeah. Danielle's asking, are they moving large releases? I don't remember such big releases coming in the summer before. So traditionally, at least the last few years, we've had 2 big releases, one in May and then one at Adobe Max in either October or November. This year we skipped May. We had a little bit of a release in May, but we skipped it only because June was supposed to be Adobe Max Europe. We were all supposed to be in Lisbon today, doing our thing. I'm sad we weren't gonna, it would have been fun. I've never been to Lisbon before or anywhere in Portugal. So
anyone from Lisbon on the chat?
Yeah, really, I'd love to know. So I'd love to hear if anyone's from Lisbon. So yeah, we moved the big release to June. I don't know what's going to happen next year, but of course we're going to have a big release at the end of the year towards Adobe Max.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
All right. So I think I'm wiring everything up. I love like zooming out and looking at all of the wires on the screens because some of them get really funky.
I know some people post crazy pictures on Twitter where they just have these massive projects that are all wired up, and it looks just bonkers.
Especially with like on a single, like with states and creating interactions within there, like just the one click, you'll see like a bunch of just single wires that go nowhere, Yeah. So that's always fun to see. Okay. So I think we have, when I click on this, the carrots will appear, and then this will then transition to the full carrot profile. Make that go a little faster. If we had more time, I would have this auto-animate up, but it works for now. We got scroll in here, which is so pleasant because I used to have to use a drag trigger and then auto-animate and have multiple screens for that. Yeah. So this is,
and it works great on mobile too. So if you're previewing it directly with a USB cable or you open up a cloud document, then those scrollable groups work great.
Yeah. So we have 2 minutes, so let's just go through everything that we did. And I'll probably keep working on this because it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I'll probably post that on Behance, which you can check that out. But let's give this a look over. All right. So this is the intro. Let's get growing. We have our little windmill going.
I love that. It's so cute. You should add things to all the screens.
Yeah, I probably will because I love animating those. We have enabling the microphone, allows that, and then we get started. Now we have our friend over here, and we have a voice trigger. So what can I plant in June? I think that was it. Perfect. Now we're on the planting guide, and we can scroll and see what are companions to things that we've already planted. So leeks, beets, kale, and tomatoes from someone in the chat. Then if we want to jump down to plots, so things that I've planted, we have my little driveway farm here, and we can see what's planted on this side, and we have some carrots there, which will then bring us back to the carrot profile, and we can see all the information we would need, how long it takes for the seed to go to harvest, how often to water it, how to space it apart, and then the conditions it needs. So that is what we designed, which I had a lot of fun.
I love it.
I hope everyone did too on the chat, and look out on Behance for the full project to be posted.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. So should we go and check out some daily creative challenges?
Yeah, let's do it. So let's hop over to Discord. I'll be taking a look at your screen, and we'll just go through a few of them. Today's challenge was Let me double check what the challenge was. Bum, 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 bum. So it was to design and prototype the featured content area for a news experience. Now, Andrea hasn't done her stream yet. She's going to be doing it after this. So it's possible we're not going to see very many for today's challenge. A lot of people like to watch the stream first, get some inspiration, and then go crazy with it. So we'll definitely take a look at some previous challenges as well if we don't see any from today.
Sweet. Okay. So we are in Discord, and we are on the current challenge channel. So let's check out. Okay. Howard, tell me which one you want to check out.
Oh gosh. We can just go and looks like we have navigation.
Navigation bar for a vinyl album art.
Which one was that? Let's see.
Oh, it keeps scrolling up. Hold on, let me get down to the very bottom.
Oh, okay. If you press the jump to present button at the bottom, it should just go right down.
I didn't even see that.
Here we go.
Are. Okay, cool. Oh, let's check this one out. I'm gonna open it up in Behance.
So this was challenge number 5. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this was yesterday's challenge, which is the data pop-up.
Okay, well this looks great upon first opening this up. I love the colors.
Yeah.
So what was this challenge yesterday? Oh, design the graph within an analytics dashboard for a website.
Yep.
And as your user hovers over the graph, display pop-ups with additional information.
Ooh.
Wow. Okay. So I love the colors. They're really, really fun.
Yeah.
But I'm a color person, so.
Mm-hmm.
And we have some nice graphs. So I think this text on the right over here, so weekly overview, it looks a little cramped.
Yeah.
I'd say adjust, it could be the font. I could be, making it a little condensed, but I would spread that out a little more if you can.
Yep, I agree.
Oh, we have a video.
Oh, I love how it's kind of like embedded in that laptop.
Yeah. Super cool. All right, so we have some hovers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, fancy.
Nice. Oh, yes. I like that.
I love that.
Some auto-animate going on.
Mm-hmm. And that's probably, I'm assuming, all built into a single component with several states.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so all of this is probably on one artboard, which is great.
Oh, I like how those pop out.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Emphasizes what you're looking at, which is really nice.
It's funny whenever I see things like this, especially over the last few weeks and probably even the last few months, I keep thinking like, how would this be improved with stacks and scrollable scroll groups, knowing that they're coming? And of course, looking at this, the transaction history at the top could use a scroll group. Even the charts. I'm going to do an example at some point where you can have charts that scroll left or right. And then of course stacks, you can rearrange all these modules.
Yeah, you even within something like this, like a dashboard, oftentimes they have customize your dashboard little, widgets or something. So with these being widgets, you can use stacks to be able to auto-animate them and have them transition to have a customized dashboard. So
totally.
Super cool. It's funny, whenever there's new features in XD, I'm like, dang, I need to go adjust my past projects from a year ago to incorporate these features, because now it's so much easier to do that. So it's super cool. Yeah,
I think the biggest was when component states were released, because previously, even for things like hover, if you want to fake it, you needed separate artboards just for the hover effect. So I had projects where I had, hundreds of artboards, and then with states became available, literally some of them went down to one artboard, which was so cool.
Yeah. So cool. Yeah, the example I always show, it's goes from 30 artboards down to one. And I think it's from it's one of your designs that I use for demos sometimes, but it's magic, pure magic. But yeah, overall this looks really, really great. I think now that stacks are out, you can go play around with that and add that to a prototype. But I think just my biggest feedback would be about that text over here.
Yep.
Howard, do you have anything else to add on this one?
The only thing I would mention, and this is just a personal thing, I'm a stickler for shadows. The shadows are kind of throwing me off a little bit. They might be a little bit too harsh. I'm a big fan of very, very subtle shadows that have a lot of blur. So I would just, drop the opacity a little bit. Looking at this, probably anywhere 5 to 10% at the most, and then bump the blur up to about 26% or 26 pixels, somewhere around there. It'll give you nice, soft shadows. But other than that, I think it looks pretty nice.
Yeah, Awesome. Great job.
It's funny, every time I start talking about shadows, somebody in the chat's like, here we go again.
That's so funny. I was gonna ask you, like, what is your default shadow that you add to things? But now we know. 26.
Yeah, it depends on the project. If you're mobile or desktop, usually you have to adjust the values, but usually it's like 5 to 10%, usually closer to 5% for the opacity. A little bit on the y-axis just to move it away from the object, and then really blur the heck out of the shadow. And if I'm feeling a little bit fancy, add a bit of color into it.
I was gonna say, something I learned from Andrea was that something she does is she always pulls in a color from that same artboard, and she just puts it in super low transparency. So we'll add a little bit, darkens it. So okay, let's check out another one. So we can do maybe this one.
Sure.
Dashboard day 5. All right, I'm gonna make this big so we can see. Ooh, there's another opportunity for scrolling in there.
I was just about to say.
Yep.
In fact, I don't want to give too much away, but next week I am going to be running the Daily Creative Challenge. It'll just be a 1-week challenge because we're on shutdown after that, but there may or may not be an experience with maps in it.
Ooh.
Never know.
Sneak. Yeah, this looks great. It has like a similar aesthetic to it. I think the colors, I would check the contrast of the colors. There is a plugin in XD called Stark, and I can just show that on my screen really quick. But if you go, let's take this one for example. I just go to the plugins panel and I click Stark and then check contrast. You can see if it passes. So this color against a white background is good to go. I'm not sure. I would just say double check that the contrast works in this one.
Yeah, yellow's tricky. Thankfully this one's a little bit of a darker yellow, almost orange, so it might kind of pass. But of course, if you went with like a bright neon yellow, then no way.
Yeah. Overall, this looks really good.
Yeah. Sunny in the chat says, "Can we have a Howard shadow preset, please?" I think it's an interesting idea. I should do like a shadow UI kit showing a few different examples of really cool shadows.
So I had that trend, skeuomorphism.
Oh yeah.
That uses a bunch of different shadows within there to create that effect. Have you done someone did a UI kit on that, I think, recently that I saw.
Somebody did. I know Dansky did a video on neumorphism. I'm not going to touch it at all because Kat Noon, who actually creates the Stark plugin, she's spoken a lot about it, and ultimately neumorphism is very bad for accessibility. None of it would pass, especially even if you use like really dark shadows. It's just because you're basically using like white elements, white layers on white background, and you're just adding shadows to kind of make it a little bit and
that's why we're gonna leave it as a trend and
exactly
put it into our products. Accessibility is super important.
Pranav is asking why shutdown. So Adobe every July 4th, the week of July 4th, and also Christmas, we take a break. We just spend time with our family. Sometimes we travel, but probably not this year. But we're shut down for a week in July, so I might have some content, but I'm going to be just relaxing and just hanging out with my family.
I love that Adobe has like a forced shutdown where everyone like has to take a break, because I feel like sometimes people won't take a vacation during the year, and it's so important for your mental health and like seeing your family and being with your family to take that time. So I will also be doing that. I'm going hiking for 10 days.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah. Okay, so we are on Aaliyah's Instagram dashboard.
Nice.
So it looks like we have a little video in here, which I'll play. So we have hovers as well. 5,000 followers. Okay, so it looks like it's like an insights dashboard.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
Maybe you can switch. Yeah, I think so. Since this is Instagram, trying to get the typography to be a little more similar. Maybe it's just the dashboard that's throwing me off a little bit. The text at the top. But yeah, I think the icons look great. I think those pretty much match to the style that Instagram has. But I think that dashboard text at the top could match a little better. Same with the colors.
It's actually gave me an interest. I don't know if it's going to work or not. I'm going to have to experiment with it later. But for the calendar, I wonder, I'm just thinking, like, if I'm brainstorming out loud, so I don't know if it's going to work or not. Obviously, we can make the calendar be scrollable so you can go to month, right? But at the top, there is the actual month and the year. So I'm wondering if you add a little bit of a cutout, like a mask in that area, and I wonder if that could change as you're scrolling when you get to the next month. I'm gonna have to experiment with that.
So if you go to July, the July text would also transition.
Yeah.
Or it would transition to July text as well.
Yeah.
I feel like you can definitely make that happen.
I'm gonna experiment with that, see if I can do it.
I strongly believe in you, Howard. I think the magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think with the new features that would definitely be possible. Something to check out.
The only other thing I would add to this is the dashboard name at the top. It's like this very futuristic typeface, and I think it kind of breaks from everything else on the artboard, which is fairly traditional typefaces, probably like Helvetica or something like that. It's kind of throwing me off a little bit, so I would just streamline that and go just kind of match what you're doing throughout the rest of the design.
So someone in the chat asked what this is about. So we're reviewing daily creative challenges right now, and the prompt for this one was to design something where you could hover over and you'd see additional information. So stuff would kind of pop out. So there's been a lot of dashboards with, this is an example of an Instagram Insights dashboard. So that's what we're reviewing. Someone just said it's 2:40 a.m. here.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so impressed that you are still awake.
Go to sleep.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, let's check out another one.
Sure. Ooh, a solar dashboard.
Let's do it. That one drew my eye.
Fancy.
All right, so we got light and we have dark mode. Very on trend. We have some custom icons, so you created them, which is great. For the video.
So definitely on this light version, there's some probably accessibility issues. There's a lot of lower opacity areas. The depleted battery or the inactive state of the battery, the light green, a little bit difficult to see. It almost looks like the entire thing is washed out a touch. So I would just, bring up those colors, the values on the left and the bottom of the chart, darken those so it could be easier to read. And also the headers where the icons are, the battery icon, the lightning icon, maybe thicken those out just a little bit and then darken that color as well. Because again, all of it is kind of a little bit difficult to read.
Yeah, don't be afraid of contrast, for sure.
Yeah.
Even just making those black will help a lot with that.
Yep.
And then you can play with Auto-Animate too. So with the graph, if you've had something within this dashboard where you would need this, you can play with, there's some examples on letsxd.com, but you can auto-animate that graph changing, which is really fun when you have a graph.
Yeah, I think I have a video specifically on animated charts, so definitely check that out as well. Sunny's asking why sometimes mask with shape is not available when I select two shapes. Probably 95% of the time, if mask with shape is grayed out, it's because the shape at the very top contains an image inside of it, which is already technically a mask. So just go ahead and go to the properties inspector, change the fill of the color or that shape to anything, which will get rid of the image, and then you should be able to do it. And yeah, as Cornell mentioned, another reason could be because the two items are not overlapping. So that, check both of those reasons.
Yeah. And then Raphael, for this Daily Creative Challenge, I would add a little more of a description too. So, even just saying this is a Daily Creative Challenge, this is the prompt for it, that just helps whoever's looking at it, if they're not in the Discord and they're not doing Daily Creative Challenges, they can see what this is about.
Yeah, and Andrea's templates that she uses has a nice section at the top that has the banner, it has Daily Creative Challenge, the day, and also has the prompt up there. So don't be afraid to just grab that, export it, and pop it on Behance.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Let's see. Day 4 and 5. All right, it looks like we have these ones left.
All right.
All right, so here we have a nice header. So Adobe XD Creative Challenge. Auto-Animate, so she combined them for day 4 and 5, Auto-Animate and data pop-up. So prototype a splitting experience with drag triggers, Auto-Animate and data pop-up. Oh, we have a nice little budgeting app.
Nice.
We all could use that.
That's for sure.
Okay, so, I love how you explain your approach. That's a great setup for the challenge.
She uses pop-ins. Yay.
Oh, is that so? That I've never seen that actually before.
It's a nice typeface. I think I found it through Andrea. Then I went through a phase where I only used pop-ins. Now I'm like a Sophia Pro phase, but yeah, nice. Pop-ins was one of my favorites for a while.
Oh, nice. I know it is such a phase. Like you get attached to one typeface for like 6 months, and then you need to freshen up. It goes with the seasons almost.
Yeah. Once people in the chat start pointing out, before I even grab the text tool, oh, Howard's going to use Sophia Pro again. That's when you know you should switch things up.
That's when you know it's time to change.
Yeah.
Okay, I love the colors. They're really fun. Mm-hmm. They kind of match the typeface as well. Like they're like light and fun.
Yeah.
Which I like. So let's look at the prototype. Okay. Nice. All combines. And I like the mask of the tech of the numbers jumping up as well.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I like it. The only thing I would say for this one, very similar to the last one, is some of the colors are a little bit light. I'm a big fan of pink, but I think this one should be a little bit darker or more towards like the red. Add some saturation to it, just so that it really stands out. I know you're probably going for a very pastel-ish look, which is nice, but it could cause some accessibility problems.
Yeah, and I think my point of feedback would be about the icons you use. Sometimes when you have like very detailed icons all stacked kind of on the same side, especially they look a little crowded and it's hard to decipher what each section is about. So I might look in this case for a simpler icon to coincide with savings and groceries and entertainment and so on.
Yeah.
But I do like how all the colors kind of match. So once you adjust the contrast, make the colors a little brighter, make sure that the icons reflect that as well.
Totally. And brainstorming one more time, I think it would be kind of cool because, you know, things like this, right? I think a lot of people would want to maybe drag some of those little areas or the little bars, not to a specific area. Mm-hmm. So scroll groups could kind of help with that. So you can drag the bar to anywhere instead of just a determined location.
Yeah, that would be really awesome.
I love these streams because you can get so many ideas.
I know. And then we all go back to work and adjust them.
Yeah.
Okay, let's check out another one. Great job. So data 5, it looks like we have it pop up here. Okay. So these colors are kind of similar.
Yeah.
The last one. Is this the same person? No, different people. Okay. So it looks like we have some hovers. And then things change a bit. Yeah, so I think for this one, the colors similar to the last design, like Howard said, making them a little starker so that the contrast is there. And just visually, it looks a little less washed out.
Yeah.
And then maybe some more white space. So thinking about like where this dashboard is it for a tablet, something like that, or desktop, giving a little more space.
Totally. Yeah. I agree.
Great.
Nice. All right.
I think that's most of them. Oh, there's some more over. Oh, we got some really bright pink.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This is like the complete opposite end of the spectrum.
Complete opposite. Yeah. So I think definitely taking down the brightness a little bit. Sometimes like check the brightness settings on your computer, because to you it might seem not so bright. That has happened to me before, where I'm like, oh, this is not so bright, but then when I pull up my brightness, I'm like, whoa, this is very bright. So yeah, I would take down the brightness, the neonness of this color a little bit. Same with all the other ones as well.
Yeah, neon's tricky to work with, especially where, Julie's pointing it out, the text on the side. Yeah. It's tricky. You got to go really bold, very bright to kind of combat that neon back there, or very dark as well. And looks like the inactive links are probably gray, which is getting very muddy with that neon background. So yeah, I would tweak this a little bit.
Yeah. You can make these a little bigger too. I think the size of that text is important, especially on that side pane. So increase that size a little bit as well.
Totally.
Yeah. And then we unfortunately can't see any hovers in here, but it looks like you've added some notes on how things would work.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's check out
Danielle says, think about everyone's eyes. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay. Ooh, this one is very nice. Similar hovers.
Mm-hmm. I love the little the ellipses that those color, or the values appear in.
Yeah, let's play it again. Yeah. So yeah, I like the colors. They're very playful. They're a little bright for me, but I think others would disagree. Yeah. But I think the spacing is good. The type looks good as well.
Yeah, it does look clean. Going off on the ellipses that the values are in, the only thing I would change is because the ellipses are white and the background is white as well. I know there's a little bit of a shadow, but in some cases it looks like there's probably just a shadow on the y-axis going down. I would also maybe blur it a little bit more just so it touches the top of that shape, so it doesn't blend in too much with the background behind it.
Yeah, and someone in another example for this chart on the right, they had that segment pop out a little bit. That could be a good way to add extra emphasis on what you're looking at. Yeah, and you can do that with these bars as well. Sometimes when I have a hover effect, I will just like enlarge in that thing, so that I'll add extra emphasis on what I'm actually hovering over.
Yeah, and Danielle is pointing out that the light blue is a bit bright, and she's totally right. It does blend a little bit with the background. What you could do, there's two things you can do. You can either set it to the same blue as the active, or the darker blue, and then drop the opacity a little bit, or what you can do is kind of bring the color down a little bit and then over to the left to kind of bring in a little bit of gray, just suck out some saturation to give that inactive feel as well.
Yeah. Great job.
Yeah.
And someone asked about a new plugin available, which is for it's either the wireframe plugin or the quick mockup plugin. Yeah,
it could be the quick mockup plugin. It is available right now. Actually, Julie did download it on XD a little bit earlier, but I do have a video ready to go for the plugin, which I'm going to be releasing probably in the next day or two. I didn't want to release it today because I did release 3 other videos on XD30 and it would just get lost in the mix. So probably within the next few days I will release that, but check out Quick Mockup. It's a fantastic plugin developed by one of the teams at Adobe.
Yeah, so I just pulled up my XD file. You can see it if you just downloaded it. But it looks like there's a bunch of different templates available that you can pull in. It'll create a new artboard, which I don't want it to interfere with my design, but you can check that out. That came out today. Is that right, Howard?
Yeah, this morning.
Okay. Amazing.
Sweet. So we have about 30 seconds left. We're going to hop back over to us and we'll just we'll wrap things up.
Sounds good. Thanks everyone for participating.
This was fun. And thanks for joining me, Julie.
Yeah, this has been a blast. I'm going to keep working on this project.
Yes. And where can people find you if they want to follow you places?
I am Julie Sanduski all over the internet, so that's nice. So on Instagram, I post a lot about circular design and food, and then all my work is on Behance. So you can check me out there as well. Awesome. Well, big thank you to everyone who has joined us over the last 2 days. We've got
I am in the chat, and Yasser and Danielle and Yoey, Christina, Natasha, Alexander. Definitely check out letsxd.com if you want to learn all about today's update, play around with stacks and scroll groups, get your creative juices flowing. There's a lot of cool things you can do with it. I'm going to be back next week with the Daily Creative Challenge, but stick around just a few minutes. We've got Andrea coming up with a really exciting challenge, the Featured Content Challenge. So stick around for that, and that's all. Any parting words, Julie?
No, keep designing, get in there, learn by doing. Doing these daily creative challenges is super helpful, and check out the Creative Residency Community Fund while you're at it.
Indeed.
Thank you guys for having me.
Alrighty, we'll see y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.